Well, I came into this world in the rough and ready year of 1923. It was a barbarous time. It was a bleak time, and it was an uncivilized time because public health care didn't exist. Back then, hospitals, doctors, and medicine were for the privileged few because they were run by profit rather than for vital state service that keeps a nation's citizens and workers fit and healthy. My memories stretch back almost 100 years, and if I close my eyes, I can smell the poverty that oozes from the dusky tenement streets of my boyhood. I can taste on my lips the bread and drippings that I was served for my tea. I can remember extreme hunger and my parents' undying love for me. In my heart, I can still feel my mum and dad's desperation as they tried to keep our family safe and healthy in the slum we called home. Poor Mum and Dad, no matter how hard they tried to protect me and my sisters, the cards were stacked against them because common disease controlled our neighborhood and snuffed out life like a cold breath on a warm candle's flame. I still remember hearing, while I played as a child on my front step, the anguished cries that floated from a nearby neighbor's window. They were the screams from a woman dying from cancer who couldn't afford morphine to ease her passage from this life. No one in our community was safe from poor health, sickness and disease. In our home, TB came for my eldest sister, Marion. Tuberculosis tortured my sister and left her an invalid that had to be restrained with ropes tied around her bed. My parents did everything in their power to keep Marion alive and comfortable, but they just didn't have the dosh to get her the best clinics, find her the best doctors, or the right medicines. Instead, she wasted away before our eyes until my mother could no longer handle her care, and she was dispatched to the workhouse infirmary where she died at the age of 10, 87 years ago. Mom and Dad couldn't afford to bury their darling daughter, so like the rest of our country's indigent, she was dumped, nameless, into a pauper's pit. My family story isn't unique. Sadly, rampant poverty and no health care were the norm for the Britain of my youth. That injustice galvanized my generation to become, after the Second World War, the tide that raised all boats. It is why, for me, in 1945, after a long, hard Great Depression and a savage and brutal war, at the age of 22 and still in the RAF, I voted for the first time. Election Day 1945 was one of the proudest days in my life. I felt that I was finally getting a chance to grab destiny by the shirt collar. And that is why I voted Labour and for the creation of the NHS. As I stand here today, my heart is with all those people from my generation who didn't make it past childhood, didn't get an education, grow as individuals, marry, raise a family, and enjoy the fruits of retirement, because they died needlessly and too early in another era of austerity. But my heart is also with the people of the present, who because of welfare cuts and austerity measures are struggling once more to make ends meet, and whose futures I fear for. Today we must be vigilant, we must be vocal, we must demand that the NHS will always remain an institution for the people and by the people. We must never ever let the NHS free from our grasp, because if we do, your future will be my past. I am not a politician, a member of the elite, or a financial guru, but my life is your history, and we should keep it that way. So say it loud and say it clear in this hall and across this country. Keep your mitts off my NHS!
Proud about the National Health Service. It's a piece of real socialism. It's a piece of real Christianity too. You know? We had to wait a long time for it. What I had in mind when we organized the National Health Service in 1946 to 1958, and remember when we did it, you know, you younger ones, this is immediately after the end of the Second World War, when we were asked, Sir Winston Churchill then said, a bankrupt nation. But nevertheless, we did these things. And there is nowhere in any nation in the world, communist or capitalist, any health service to compare with it. Now, the National Health Service had two main principles underlining it. One, that the medical arts of science and of healing should be made available to people when they needed them, irrespective of whether they could afford to pay for them or not. That was the first principle. The second was that this should be done not at the expense of the poorer members of the community, but of the well-to-do. In short, I refuse to accept the insurance principle. I refuse to accept the principle that the National Health Service should be paid by contributions. I refuse to accept that. I refuse to accept it because I thought it was nonsense.
Well, I came into this world in the rough and ready year of 1923. It was a barbarous time, It was a bleak time, and it was an uncivilized time, because public health care didn't exist.